All right, my friends, settle in, take a breath, and let's be calm and be correct, because today we're doing facts and we're doing scripture, the ledger of the household and the weight of the state. When we talk about the economy, we often get lost in the macro talk of the ivory tower, but for the believer, the economy is a matter of stewardship at the kitchen table. It is about the ability of a father and mother to provide for their own, without the state acting as a silent and often greedy partner in every transaction. We are seeing a quiet crisis where the cost of living is becoming a barrier to the very family formation that God designed as the bedrock of our society. Let's slow it down and let the Bible talk, because we need to define the issue correctly. Stewardship is not just about how you spend your money. It is about how a society honors the labor of its people. We have reached a point where many families feel like they are working more to end up with less. And that is not an accident. It is the fruit of policies that prioritize government expansion over household stability. If a family cannot afford to stay in their home because of rising property taxes, that isn't a market correction. It is a policy failure. Here is the claim, and now here is the receipt. In major urban centers, we see budget gaps being closed on the backs of the middle class. Leaders will expand their spending and then look to the revenue lever of property taxes to fix the math. In some jurisdictions, the middle class already bears a massive tax burden, and yet they are the first targeted when the state's checkbook doesn't balance. This creates a literal exodus, where families are forced to flee the communities they helped build just to find a place where they can breathe. Now, that sounded fancy, but it wasn't faithful, because it ignores the principle of the worker being worthy of his wages. We read in Proverbs chapter 29, verse 4, that by justice a king gives a country stability, but those who are greedy for heavy taxes tear it down. When a father's paycheck is hollowed out by inflation and his home is threatened by taxation, the stability of the entire nation is at risk. Economic policy is not just about numbers. It is about whether or not we are making it possible for a man to provide for his own, as the scripture commands. We also have to look at the impact on our sons. Since 1979, we have seen a measurable shift where the real median wages for men have struggled. We see a college enrollment gap and a rise in deaths of despair that are directly tied to the loss of a sense of purpose and the ability to provide. When we hollow out the communities where fatherless boys become men, we are sowing seeds of long-term economic and spiritual decay. A man who cannot see a path to supporting a family is a man who is prone to the distractions of the world. I'm not impressed. I'm interested. Show me the text. In 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 8, the word is very clear. But if anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for members of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. This is a heavy mandate. But if the state makes it nearly impossible for a laborer to keep the fruits of his hire, the state is standing in the way of a biblical requirement. Prosperity comes from freedom and responsibility, not from a bigger government check. Don't let slogans do your thinking. They will tell you that the economy is booming because the stock market hit a record, but you have to check the receipt in your own grocery bag. They will talk about taxing the rich to get a round of applause, but they'll end up taxing the school teacher and the plumber to pay the bills. We need an economic policy that serves mothers and fathers, and that means a government that knows how to say no to its own appetite so that you can say yes to your children's future. I challenge you today to be a person of discernment. Look past the news flashes and look at the stewardship of your own home. Are we demanding leaders who respect the sanctity of the household, or are we voting for benefactors who give with one hand and take with two? We have to stand for a system that honors the work of our hands and the peace of our homes. I want to leave you with a word of encouragement. Even when the ledger doesn't seem to add up and the state seems determined to take its pound of flesh, the Lord is your provider. He is the one who gives you the power to gain wealth, and He is the one who can make a way where there is no way. Trust in His provision, but stay sharp in your stewardship. And that's the bottom line. If it can't survive facts in Scripture, it can't survive. Walk it out, live it loud, and let the Word have the last word.